The battle system in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is really unique and really satisfying. In this video, I will help you destroy your enemies. Whether you have played an RPG before or you have never ever played one before, you will definitely have to get used to the battle system in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Unlike other RPGs, a lot of these combat mechanics in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 takes a lot of inspiration from games like Final Fantasy XIV. You may be used to the turn-based battle system in RPGs, you may be used to the strategical battle style, and you may even be used to the hack and slash style of combat, but Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is none of these. Perhaps the biggest separator for this game is the auto attacks. And by auto attack, I mean your character attacking without you doing anything. When you walk up to an enemy and click A to engage or join a boss battle, your character will immediately start attacking as soon as you're in range. This is not anything that you have to do, this is just solely programmed into the game. The way you determine if you're in range to do an auto attack is by the sword icon at the bottom right of your screen. When this is on, you are in range. And while we're on the basics, know that at the top right of your screen, it tells you just how many enemies are attacking you at one time. This is something small, but super useful for helping you determine when you need to run away. To run away, you just hold A to sheath your weapon and run as fast as you can. Alongside of these auto attacks is what is called arts. These arts are more or less attacks that are super strong. We will go over these in more detail later, but as an overview, know that these do have to be clicked manually. They are ready when they glow orange and are triggered by clicking either the letter buttons on the right side of your controller or the D-pad. Each character in each class has their own specific arts. Kevesi art levels fill up with time, while Agnian classes level up faster by canceling attacks. If you don't know what canceling is, I will explain it later on in this video, do not worry. There is also what is called a talent art located on the A button, and it is basically a huge attack that you have to work to get. Some can be super strong attacks, but my personal favorite is probably a healer's regenerate that allows a specific area to regenerate your health while you're in battle if you're standing inside of it. For Kevesi characters, doing your job roles will level up this faster. For example, attacking from the correct positional, as Noah will level it up. It will flash to let you know you did something right. Also more on positionals later, so if you don't know what that means, I will explain that as well. In reference to classes, probably the biggest concept of this game is the roles that your character has. There are three main roles: attacker, defender, and healer. To break this down in a simple manner, take the names at face value. Attacker is someone who is best at attacking, defender is someone who is best at defending, and a healer is someone who is best at healing. You may have heard these in terms of DPS or damage per second, tank, and healer. DPS is attacker, tank is defender, and healer is, well, healer. There are different classes inside of these job roles. For example, Noah's base class is sword fighter, which is the job role attacker. Lance's base class is heavy guard, which is the job role defender. There will be tons of different classes throughout the game that fall into these job roles. It's actually amazing how great they did with this. Attackers are characters who have, as the name suggests, great attack skills. This is indicated by a red sword symbol, and it is a character like Noah and Senna's main class. Their health is decent, but not overall that stunning. They don't take hits all that well, but can take a little bit. But the goal of these characters is to mainly attack, attack, attack as much as possible. Defenders, on the other hand, have huge health. Their defense is super good. This is Lance and Mio's base class. Their attack isn't their main focus, but it really isn't terrible. Healers have substantially low health. They are indicated by the green symbol, and this is Uni and Tyon's base class. Not that good of attack or defense, but are the characters who can heal your parties from their damage and raise your party members if they are unconscious. The reason that these roles are so important is that if you don't know what they do, you will more than likely die in a lot of battles. In a perfect world, what your goal is to have your defenders draw all the enemy's attention, or in other words, aggro the enemy, since they are the ones who can handle the big hits. Aggro is just a fancy way of saying who the enemy has its attention on. What draws the most aggro is someone who is dealing a lot of damage or someone who is healing a lot. So the problem here is that defenders can't heal, and they also aren't attack first focused. So how does a defender keep the aggro of the enemy? They have special arts that will draw aggro from that enemy. This is usually tied in with a normal attack, but can be a soul move that just raises their aggro like a stance. Aggro is indicated by a blue line above the enemy when a defender has aggro, and a red line when someone other than a defender has aggro. While your defender is getting hit with all the enemy's hits, you can have your healer stay focused on healing them, and in between the heals, and if the defender isn't getting hurt that bad, throw some punches in there too. It's super important to switch your characters by holding Z, L, and switching through them with L and R as well. This way, if you notice the health bar of your enemies going down while you're playing an attacker, you can switch to healer and heal that person. Or if aggro is someone it shouldn't be, switch to the defender and draw some aggro. This definitely takes some practice, but it's definitely part of what makes this battle system so fun. Of course, this is all in a perfect world. More than likely, your attacker is going to do a huge crazy attack that is going to put them at the top of the aggro list, or in other words, take the enemy's attention off of the defender, or your whole party will get hit with an AoE from the enemies and your healer will have to do a ton of healing and put them at the top of the aggro list. But the goal is still the same: defender taking damage, attacker attacking, and healer healing. Now, what's an AoE, you may ask? AoE literally just stands for area of effect. This can be both good and bad. They can either grant you buffs or debuffs. Your healer can cast AoEs for your team, such as evasiveness up or attack up. This will be indicated by a colored circle on the ground. If you stand in that circle, you will then get those buffs. Just like when I mentioned regenerate as a talent art earlier. That is a circle that you have to stand in to get that regenerate buff. When your healer casts a move that heals more than one party member at a time, that is also an AoE. Notice that these AoEs have an invisible circle around them, so if you're not standing in the line of the healer, you will possibly not get healed if you are too far away. On the contrary, your enemies can also cast AoEs. This is also indicated by a color circle on the ground and can be stuff like Blaze, which deals damage at fixed intervals, or Attack Down, which lowers your attack stat. They can also do AoE attacks, which will hurt all of your party members in range, even if your defender is drawing aggro. Along with arts and talent arts, you also have what is called Master and Fusion arts. These aren't too confusing, but are definitely vital to mention. Master arts will be unlocked once you gain the ability to switch classes amongst your party members. These are on the D-pad side of your controller. This can be equipped on your character who has learned another class. For example, if you have Noah level up a tank class, you can then equip some tank arts onto his master arts or on the D-pad section. Fusion arts is just a fancy way of terming the act of combining two arts into one, your master arts and your normal arts. If you let your art gauge fill up with your normal arts and then your corresponding talent art, this will be indicated by a squiggly orange line. You can then perform what is called a fusion art. This will grant, say if you have an attack art that grants aggro up and then a master art that also grants attack up, you'll get both of them at the same time. The best part though is that doing these fusion arts is how you raise your interlink level. If you want your party to focus on fusion arts and leveling up interlinks, you can hold ZL and click fusion first. Interlinking is one of the most unique parts of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and it was advertised pretty heavily in the trailers. This allows two characters, Noah and Mio, Uni and Talon, and Lance and Senna to become interlinked. This basically allows them to do super strong moves when they are interlinked. It is only temporary though, as the longer you use it and the more arts you use in them, it will overheat and you will go back to normal form. It is super useful though, and you do a lot of damage when using these. One thing you have to get used to in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is positioning in battle. Certain arts are only at max strength depending on where you are standing. For example, Noah has an art that has boosted damage when you attack from behind the enemy. That's one of the reasons it's so important to have your defender draw aggro at all times. That way you can stand behind the enemy while your defender has the aggro facing away from you. If you find yourself needing to move to a specific spot of the enemy, be sure to click in on the R stick or R3. It will allow you to sort of dash around the enemy, and it's super useful if you're playing as a healer and you see someone who needs healed or someone who is knocked out to go over there and heal them or raise them up. And while using your arts and positioning and doing all this stuff in battle, there is a rhyme and reason between you and your party members. Combos are huge at making sure you deal optimal damage to your enemies, all while avoiding getting hit at the same time. The simplest one to do early on in the game is break into topple. This will make your enemy lay down and you'll be able to attack them with them unconscious. As the game progresses, you'll unlock more arts and there will be some awesome combos you can do, like break into topple, into launch, into smash, or break into topple, into daze, into burst. Sometimes the NPCs will follow suit with what you're trying to do, like if you're playing Noah and you inflict break, Lance's NPC will more than likely inflict topple. Sometimes they don't get the memo though and you have to do it yourself by switching to them. Mastering these combos could be the difference between winning and losing a battle. The more you play this game, you will hear the term canceling attacks a lot. And this can be mega confusing if you don't know what it's talking about. Canceling simply means to let your character auto attack and then immediately hit an art as soon as your character auto attacks. This will show a purple line and then a purple circle on your screen to indicate that you have done it correctly. This is super useful as there are gems to increase your attack when canceling that you can equip, and there are also some arts that boost your attack when canceling. Not to mention that Agni and characters get their arts refilled faster when you cancel attacks. All around, it's good practice to get in the habit of, and you can even cancel arts into arts. Chain attacks are probably one of my favorite parts of the battle system in this game, but also probably one of the most confusing parts of this game for a lot of people. When you battle an enemy, you will see your chain attack gauge fill slightly. Once it is filled, you can activate it by pressing plus. I'm just going to stop here and give you a little pro tip. If you are not struggling with an enemy, specifically a unique enemy or the enemy with the red logo, I usually wait until right at the end of the enemy's health and then activate the chain attack, because you will get a lot of extra XP by doing damage on what's called an overkill. And when you do a chain attack, if a party member is knocked out at that point, they will not be able to participate in the chain attack. So keep that in mind before you click plus. Whenever you do activate your chain attack, you are met with 3 options to pick between paths. You can choose between the 3 characters it gives you and see what different buffs they give you. These buffs last the entire duration of the chain attack. Once you've selected a character, you want to notice the TP or tactical point gauge at the top right of your screen. Our goal is to get that TP gauge above 99. If you get the TP gauge over 99, you will then be able to do an order again. Some of the characters you use will be gone when the chain reactivates though. You can see the TP points on the character's head at the bottom left of the screen to see just how much you will get. It is also important to note that healers can only max TP to 99. They cannot go above that. While healers can't go over 99, special heroes can. Kind of confusing, but just remember that whenever you're doing this. Whatever number TP is above 100% does matter. If it is over 100%, you'll get 1 character back when the chain reactivates. If it is over 150%, you'll get 2 back. And over 200%, and you'll get 3 characters back when your chain reactivates. Some important things to remember are that whatever order you select using a character with that job role will grant you a TP bonus. For example, if you use an attacker order and then use an attack during the chain attack, that TP will be boosted. If you use an attack first during a chain attack, you'll get a 125% multiplier to the TP you get that turn. If you end an order with a defender, the next go around, if you reactivate that chain, will reactivate the character with the highest TP. This is super useful. I always attack with my attacker first to get that 125%, and I also usually always pick the attack order so I get that boost too. And then I attack with healer after that to max out to 99. Then I attack with the defender last to get above 99 so I can make sure the highest TP character gets reactivated. There is a way to interlink in these chain attacks, but we'll save that for another time as this is a bit further on in the game. Be sure to watch my beginner's guide and my 22 tips and tricks for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Everyone have an amazing day and God bless.